EMIY served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to EMIY TV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Wind, fire. And the Isley Brothers last night, they clowned. Man, they did the verses last night. I don't see it on the thing yet, brother, to share it. Man, they did the verses last night. Man, them boys. Man, Ron Isley, 79. Got straight up, they blowing. Now they talking about collaborating. So, good evening. It's Monday. It's METV. It's always positive here. We always kicking some solutions. You know, I understand that sometimes solutions is hard to swallow. Right? Like a dribble through a pipe. them boys is hard to swallow. Right. In the building. Look at my man. My man taking pictures. Boy, when I grow up, I want to be like Miles Dixon. I want to be like Miles Dixon when I grow up. Yeah. Anyway, we on today. We gonna do some conversating. Is that the right word? Conversations. I guess I better be politically correct. Conversations. Conversing. Right. Right. Just a quick update. I'm still not saying it, brother, to share. Oh, it's on there? What's the problem? Let me go here and... What's up with podcasting? They clowning. I got to find this. Where we at? There we go. Right? Right. So, I want to touch on something real quick before we get into this this whole Respect Day piece, right? Let me introduce. Hello, Heather.
Good evening, good people.
How are thee?
I am having a better day today than I did yesterday, so I'm grateful to be here.
I know that's right. You see, we got Dave in the building. Dave with us.
Yeah.
Right. Dave said, yeah.
Always good to see you.
Always a pleasure.
Okay. And so we're going to get into this Respect Day, right? And I really want to get into it, especially after I got that phone call about coming on the radio and what, how respect really means, what it really means to you, and what it means to you, Heather and Dave, and the importance of why we're doing Respect Day. In the meantime, just looking at things from a perspective that, after I can get this shared with everybody, looking at from a perspective that we as people are not respecting each other, right? And we as men and women, right, just got a call from a father. It's about the third call today from a father, right, dealing with, wanting to see his kid, right? He just want to be in his child's life. And, on the surface, I'm sure it looks like, that good fathers only. Well, Dave, you're a good fathers only. Remember you? Right? You do some great things, right? Right. On the surface, it might appear to some people that Good Fathers Only being a small organization and what that means. So, we're a growing organization, right? We've helped fathers and do those things. But I'm going to stick to this point about respect, right? Respect Day tomorrow, for us, it's about respecting he and respecting she. The first segment is us. It's Dr. Hill Dr. Hero of Hotep Christian Services, who helps. He's a doctor, practitioner, mental health, helps families, young males, period, right? And Jeff Okuda, Detroit Lions cornerback, right? And myself, right? And we're going to have this conversation on respecting women, right? This, from our perspective, of course, you'll get that link, and everybody else will have that link, right, where you can get on and can be on at 2 o'clock and help fill this thing out, right? Because we need more, and when I say more, I mean more emphasis on solutions, right? And so we're going to discuss, about respecting women. Then we're going to come back at 5, myself and Crystal. We're going to have a conversation that we generally have anyway, and go in depth into solutions about respecting we. How can we respect each other? What are the things that we need to do to respect each other? And then at 7 o'clock, Heather and Dr. Chandra Carr are going to blow up the internet, right? At 7 p.m. on respecting men. And a lot of us men feel like a lot of the women. A lot of men feel like the women don't respect them, right? That is the division, division, right? Divestment of in family and how important it is and healthy, right? So when we talk about the contributions, and I'm often corrected, Heather is always correcting me some kind of way, right? I'm often corrected, but this one I stood my ground on, Dave. I stood my ground. I believe, right, that, again, as I said before, we become the contributors to the prison system, caskets, health, poverty, right? I believe it really starts with he and she, right? Because the contribution from there, it's either going to produce or it's going to fail, right? And I say that because I'm just giving you those ideas. We have become very comfortable in playing with children. We have become very comfortable in saying that, hey, I'm the only one should raise this child, not you and not you. We don't need you, right? We have these dynamics taking place with our children that is harming them, right? So we're going to get into that, and so before we get into that, Heather, ladies first. What does respect really mean to you with all that work behind your head?
I think that's a really great question, and I really think that it has to be qualified, right? It has to be qualified through your lens, which is going to be validated by your experience. It's going to be validated by your environment. And so I I pause to consider when I answer that question. The meaning of respect, as I was raised to believe, had to do with valuing those people around you in exchange for the value returned to you. But you were responsible for showing what your value was so that others would value you, and then you value others with that type of lens. So kind of the do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That was basically how I was raised to believe and to think. As I became an adult, and as I, got more involved with Emmy in particular, and Emmy's Respect Day, my lens started to change. I started to see that more broadly, and I started to see as a young person and a young adult that what respect means to my peer group was important at that time. Whether I agreed or disagreed, it still kind of shaped what I thought respect was at that time. So at that time, I thought that respect had to do with things, and you earn respect as opposed to are entitled to it. And so in that peer group, when you live that lesson that way, then you start to put value on more things and more material as opposed to the value of the person themselves. And so I grew out of that peer group. And then as I became adult, and like I said, even working more with Emmy and sharing this idea and watching this idea emerge from a lens of my own son and from other young people's lens, again, that idea had to be changed and refined. And so I'm going to say this, that one, I believe that respect is an evolving process. The more you grow, the more maturity you earn, the more value you bring to your own beliefs and your own values, the more you bring into the world. So now I look at respect not that somebody has to earn it, but it is due to that person simply by the nature of them being here and present and alive. And the lens that I look at respect now is that I see you through a lens of uh, as a value to who you are, just being on the same plane, the same human plane. And so respect to me is through the lens of respecting your life, respecting that you're here and that you have a purpose and you have a presence that is unknown to me. I can't judge who you are, who I think you are. I can only give you the respect for being present in my world at this time. So I would say respect is about the value that I place on you, regardless if it's something that I think meeting you or encountering you, you are due, owned, or entitled. It is yours without question until you've proved otherwise.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Brother Day.
Well, I think Heather put it in a beautiful, beautiful package. And it would sum back up to what God said, love thy neighbor as thyself. So, as she said, it's about value. And as you evolve through your life cycle, your values change. And so the way you thought when you were a child, as Paul would say, you change as you mature. And it comes with a package of information that takes you from just having information on the surface to move you more into a level of understanding and wisdom. And so as Heather was speaking about the different phases she went through, understanding became more clear. So she talked about lenses. You know, you may start with a lens that only cover 2 feet, but as you get more into photography, you need something that's a wide lens. You need something to get an aerial shot. You need something that expands. And most of the times we operate out of, no disrespect to people, we operate out of ignorance, because what our peers told us at 13 don't line up with you when you're at 26, 46, and 56. So respect basically begins to expand itself to understand. My son defined it yesterday at church. The pastor was speaking about, valuing people and people you dislike, what have you. He said, Dad, and even the pastor said, he dislike and hate some people, and I said, well, that's interesting. And so he says, Dad, I like the way you said that, you value people and you acknowledge the behavior. See, if the behavior is inappropriate, it's going to determine how you respect them, right? But if you're just looking at the behavior and always valuing the person, then you're not getting wrapped around those small things. You're not looking through that, as Heather would say, that small lens. Once you value a person for who they are and not what they do, it changes the way you respect them. See, you don't have to like a person that like the behavior a person goes out and commit a crime. You don't have to like the behavior. God don't like sin, but he loves the person. So right off the top, because you exist, you have value. And you have a way of looking at the world from a different perspective then. But we're taught early on, it's all about what I get. So this morning when I was teaching in regards to Bible study, we were talking about privilege and pride. And what we think, she talked about the privilege mentality, what we deserve. But see, when Jesus came here, he said, I didn't come here to serve. Come here to be served. I come to serve. He valued you regardless of what you do. So I think when we talk about respect, and it changes, as she said, when we talk about respect, it comes down to recognizing that as human beings evolve and grow, they mature into their understanding of the word respect. But we always should value the individual. And that makes it easier for me to deal with anybody. I've been quite a few places. And no matter what, even my enemy, because it wasn't what they do, it's what I did. Even my enemies shed their tears, at least the environment of that culture, shed their tears when I go to leave, because I presented myself in a way that I valued them. And in turn, the concept they had, first as a black man, then an American and an American soldier, it totally changed because I showed them value. And that's why sometimes we miss something. We get value in material, we lose sight of the big picture because that's gone. But the spirit of the person is who we should respect.
Right. Great point. Right. So, great point. Right. I saw many years ago that respect was lost. Right. And respect to me was the fact that I was giving it regardless because it was me. Right. So I made it a swag thing. I'm going to respect you. Right. Similar to what you and Heather just said. I'm going to give you this respect off the bell, right? Because I respect myself.
That's right.
So therefore, you know my boundaries if I'm respecting you. So just like, you know, in the shop, they use the N-word real heavy. Well, everybody know you can't come to Cal with the N-word. So, you know, I wouldn't respond. And so my man would tell him, he's not going to respond to you. You using that word. Right. Oh, Cal, come on. Oh, hey, welcome to the party. You know what I mean? But the truth of the matter is that if you respect yourself highly, when you give that to someone because other people did not give that to them. When we started Respect Day, 2015, it's in our mentoring program. The kids had to run it. 2016, we send the kids to school again. Take this to your school, take it to your principal. All the mentees take the sheet, go turn it into the school, right? And tell them what you must do, right? Because at that time, we on the future leaders, we on their head because they got to be the ones to run the Respect Day.
Right.
You see? Because you know how we are in that program, right? So no one responded. I said, well, I'm going to show y'all what to do when nobody responded, right? So me and Heather got together and, right, we went to knocking on some doors, making some moves, and next thing you know, I'm on the phone with Miss Green, right? Beverly Green over at DSA, right? I'm on the phone with her when her and I had already did the Man-to-Man Youth Summit together with Dr. Hill and Herb Strathers and a few other people. We did the Man-to-Man Youth Summit, brought all the guys in the game in the collaboration across the board. The Otis Bellingers, all of them, Ray Winans, all of them, invite them all to come. Man-to-Man Youth Summit, we going to lock in. That's Beverly Green. We turn around. I touch Beverly. She over at DSA. Right away, she take to the idea of Respect Day, right? At the time, Zach Hart, boom, shows up, comes up out of nowhere because, dang, what is her name? Anyway, she put us together, me and Zach, and once she put me and Zach together, me and Zach took off, right? So Respect Day, Zach Hart right with me, right? So in that process, we put on this Respect Day. We come on stage, right? Alicia, Bell, and Heather, and all of them, they got this little sneaky little plan. My brothers and sisters in the audience, and this is the day I'm awarded Calvin T. Mandate, April 6, 2016, right? So, of course, me being the emotional teddy bear, shout out to the sexy teddy bears for the winner. We did a good job.
Teddy bear.
Right, we did a good job. Right? And so we get the award, the whole nine, my brothers and sisters in the audience, I don't know, and Respect Day begins. But here's what happened. The whole time we were planning Respect Day, we was going over to the school, introducing the kids to the real meaning of respect. So they had to take out their phones. We had all these things in the school. They're putting on skits on colorism, all this, right? And so we're going over meeting with the school, right? Respect Day come around. We got the T-shirts, the whole school, we impact, but then it's over with. We pack up, we leave, and the phone ring. It's Beverly. She said, Calvin, man, you should see this school right now. She said, I'd never seen anything like this. I said, what are you talking about? She said, the boys are opening the doors for the girls, and the girls are talking instead of screaming at the boys. And our whole lunchroom environment had changed. Now our whole classroom. A week later, she called me back. She's like, everybody want a T-shirt. I can't believe what is happening here. Like, the whole environment of the school had changed. Right? So we continue with respect, Dave, till this day. And I think it's important that we get into the meat of respecting women, right? So these are the little segments that we're going to do. And Heather, you can jump in at any point, Dave, as well, right? And so the first segment is about us talking to young people, old people, men, whoever is on this Zoom tomorrow about the importance of respecting women, right? I had a good mom, right? And, you know, I know that I champion men, but I champion men because I watched her champion her cause. And I watched her champion her cause, which was people and taking prostitutes off the street. And her friendships were important. All of my brothers and sisters, our friendships are important, right? Do research on my dad, more research on my dad, discovered my dad had all these great friendships and understanding that, right? But the respect was there. So what does respect look like? Well, we always joke and talk about, boy, you say the wrong thing to your mama, she'll slap you in the Juvember, right? We always say things like that. To me, that wasn't the whole thing about mama. Right? You know, respecting my mom came with a demand, not just from her, but she had a father who was 6'4" with the hands of, he could scratch your back from over here, you know what I mean? As a plumber, you know what I mean? Right? And so, good man, raised 10 kids, right? And her understanding that, she gave her life to her children. I say this, 1996, I got married. My mom, she looked at 95, bro. She was just 60. She gave her life for her children and her community. And ironically, her birthday is August 28th, which is the same day the Martin Luther King speech, the whole nine, which I consider myself a militant baby because I was born in 1965. And I'm cold with it. If I wanted to be, I could really jump. I fight that narrative all the time because solutions, everyone doesn't want to paint them. Some people just like we said last week, some people like Band-Aids. But I have respect. And so if I say anything, right, about something opposite of men, we have feedback from the opposite sex about you don't know what you're talking about. That part of disrespect right there is something as a culture and people that we have to move. See, we so used to I'm telling you this, I'm telling you that, I'm telling you this, I'm telling you that, that when I get a man, right, that I'm telling you, that doesn't work with a man. A man, you know, and vice versa. A woman doesn't want a man that's always, right, like, because men, we have emotions too. We're nurturers too, to our children too. And so tomorrow, when we talk about respecting women, Dr. Hill is doing some things. Jeff Okuda is part of the interview, and one of the questions I'm asking him is, what was the respect like for your mom? And so I'll ask you that. What was your respect like for your mom?
In relation to me and her? Or
yes.
Oh, well, it was high because she didn't demand respect. She displayed respect. And because she displayed it, it was easy to respect her. The other side of the house, as I would go with my mother, was that, like my grandfather, they were teachers. So even if they were whooping you behind, they were teaching you something. You see, that was just the way it played out. Well, come on, just go on, give me the whooping, don't talk no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I couldn't stand it either, bro.
Yeah. But what you learn is that as they were doing their narrative, they were enhancing your insight of understanding. One of the things my grandfather always taught us was that you need to define words. We use a lot of words, but we have no meaning to them. And if we do, if you challenge them, well, tell me what that means. They go to stumbling because they never thought to take time to think about the word they use and what it meant and the impact that it had. Well, that's what my mother would take us to do. So when I tell her, I said, I hate you after getting that behind whooping, right? She said, hold on. Let me break this down to you, this word hate, you use it. I was 5 years old. And from that point on, when I hear the past and people say, yeah, I know y'all like me, you don't hate us. No, I don't hate people. Because I understand what that means. I understand the impact of that word. So she presented herself in a way that didn't have to demand respect. You respect, so case in point, you talk about your mother and the relationship. So she was just saying when her friend said, you raised them boys. You raised them boys. There's 4 of us. And 1 step, so that'd be 5. But in my dad's house, he said, there's no steps.
No steps. All elevators.
That's right. So she said, you raised them boys. She said, hold on, why do y'all keep saying this? We raised them boys, me and my husband. See, as I was listening to Heather, and I was listening to you talk about your mother, basically these are women who operate from Proverbs 31. If you go through that whole scenario about this woman, she's always doing for others and gaining the respect because her action validates her value. So with my mother, that's how it was. And in the neighborhood, that's how it was. She's a little bitty thing. She only 4 feet 5. She's short. I mean, she's really short, but I'm just tall. But you had all these boys, right? But she handled her affairs because she understood the meaning of communication and giving people time to talk. Sometimes people say, well, there you're a little long-winded. No, as I say, very rarely I'm going to say anything that's foolish. So I'm going to give you an insight of something you don't know. You can't walk in the middle of a movie and think you understand the movie. You can't come in on the end of it, and you can't in the beginning. You have to see it through. But once you see it through, you got a picture. And then the Bible tells us in all things, get understanding.
Get an understanding.
Not be right, get understanding. And that's where it comes with my mother.
Miss Miller? Heather?
This is in particular to my mother or just my lens? My
to
mother.
Your mom, yes. Right.
Okay.
Mama.
Women. You can use women, your mom, you go there.
Okay. Well, I'll start with my mom because she was my first example of a woman. And in our household, my mother leveraged the authority of my father a lot. Not that she didn't spank us and correct us, but it was extra trouble if you had to put my dad into the picture. And she was like, and she used his authority as leverage. She did. But she took the liberty too. And it was kind of like my parents worked together in that my dad was out. He was the one that was working the majority of our life. My mom was, for a long time, a stay-at-home mom, but she was, my mother was always in school. She was in school to become a nurse. And so my mother participated in our life. She participated in homework. She participated in learning. She participated in fun and games. My mother taught more kids on our block hopscotch, jacks, jump rope, double dutch. My mother taught us those things, roller skating, ice skating. My mother was out there with all of our community kids and teaching us these things that we didn't know. Nursery rhymes and sayings. My mother was the one that was not just my mom. She was we had the neighborhood house because in our block, everybody had either 4 to 5. We had 7. So that was pretty much kind of the sizes of the community that I grew up in. So
everybody.
that was huge. That was huge to be able to have your mom teaching you something that was fun and not always threatening, not always having to correct, but correcting in new ways. So my mother would she had other options besides just spanking as how she corrected us. So one of the ways was using the authority of my dad, leveraging that. Another way was that if you didn't get along with somebody, then she would put you together. Like you would have to sit in the same chair, you would have to hold hands, you would have to hug, and you could not release until you were releasing whatever anger or resentment that you had with that person. So those ideals that my mom had were are a deeply rooted part of me that is not always the acceptable way. Like spankings for us was the acceptable way for correcting. And in our neighborhood, of course, your neighbors would correct you. They would verbally correct you. They could spank you if it was that bad of an incident, and they would take you home and tell. I mean, anybody in our neighborhood
Again,
could
that's
walk
right.
you home
One more time.
or call, right? And you could be corrected. So
The beginning of child abuse. Next on Oprah.
so so I think those things, those non-traditional ways of correcting, of teaching, of building relationships help me to understand a different way of respect. And some of those ways I incorporate now as a mom. And it's a little bit different because I was the perfect auntie. So just shout outs to the aunties and the moms, the secondary moms, and the other moms, we call them moms, the other mothers who didn't bear children but raised them anyway, contribute to their lives. So the amount of respect that should be shown to those moms or other mothers or grandmothers for that matter, that's a certain amount of respect just by nature of what you invest and put into others. So I think that level of respect is about the investment and helping to improve the quality of life of another person, that you have something that you can pour into someone. I think that part of respect should be noted too.
Yes. And so we move, great points, right? And so we move to people, right? One of the biggest growing issues today is homelessness. This society has grown to poverty. Even during the last president, 8 million people moved into poverty during COVID. The lack of respect for human life. Was literally watching 60 Minutes, and they were showing inside of where they kept the bodies from COVID, and then how the cremations and how they had them all stacked up, boxes and boxes and boxes. And it was just a certain amount of people that were responsible for giving these people a respectable burial, right? And I got to thinking, right, about the human tragedy that we have today, where we just are very, very disrespectful to people. I saw the video where the man kicked the Asian woman. Right, they end up catching that brother. Right, I've seen videos of Asian people being jumped on. I've seen the police murdering black males and females, and I've seen, even I took in more than what I was supposed to this past week of the Derek Chauvin case, where they tried to where this criminal ass system tried to put this man's history to devalue him, right, to justify the murder, right? And the one thing I noticed is that no one has ever said, I've never seen anything around this case that stated that the meanwhile he had his knee on his neck, both of his hands were in his pocket, which does what, Dave?
Make him non-threat.
If his hands is in his pocket, I'm putting more weight on him. See?
Oh, you're talking about the physical part.
The physical part, right? See, if I got my hands up here, I'm taking my weight off of him. I'm leaning, right? If I got my foot in a certain position, it's not that much pressure on his neck. He had his foot laid flat, knee on his neck, and both hands in his pocket. As people was looking at him, he was applying more pressure and weight to kill this man. But no one has mentioned that both his hands was in his pocket and what that meant. right? So why we we what's that decharacterization, right? Take something away. I'm going to take something. So homelessness. Back to what I'm saying. What is your respect? So Good Fathers Only. Every year we've done our pancake breakfast. We've taken the leftovers in our food and taken it to a men's shelter, right? That's something that we did consistently, right? Because we had men cooking, serving the community, doing, and our boys doing, right? So shout out to Z Pace who made that possible, teaching us the whole pancake breakfast piece. But homelessness, like I see so much of it, and I think we, right, on two spectrums. Yes, sure. I believe we have some people who take advantage of people and playing this homeless game, right? But I do believe there are more homeless people.
Yeah,
right?
that percentage is low. The
percentage.
people that's playing the game,
Yep.
that's a real low percentage.
That's a low percentage, and so respect the homeless. Like a few years ago, and I'm gonna do it again this summer. A few years ago, I drove around and paid homeless people, right, to wear the "Encourage Me, I'm Young" shirt at the viaducts. So all over the city, right, we had homeless people walking up to cars with an "Encourage Me, I'm Young" shirt on, brand new, fresh. I paid them to wear it, right, and just hearing those stories or getting close to those stories, I think we have to do a better job of reaching one, teaching one, and sharing. And I'm not going to give away this idea that has been on the table for me for years about sharing, but we have to get to a place as a society that not only are we sharing information, but we're also sharing the elevation, helping you get up. Right? It's like I told you when we do our men's shelter, when we finally get a men's shelter, which I believe is possible more faster than we think, right? And for Good Fathers Only, having a men's shelter, because we don't have enough shelters for men across this country.
That's true.
And how can we help men get back into their psyche, so to speak, their mental, right? And respecting that. So if you have an idea, or this is an opportunity for each one of you, right? What is the one thing that you see that we need to fix that needs that respect? And I'll go to you, Heather, first.
The one thing, the one thing that we need to fix.
It is the one thing. Remember 2016 when a girl said, it's the one thing. From the poem, when she said, how did the young lady say? She said, and something about Mother Nature, and I'm Mother Nature. And something, I forget the poem, how it go, but the young girl, she put that poem down.
Well, I think that the one thing, if this one thing was in place, I think the trajectory of our future would change immediately. That one thing is everyone identifying and walking and living their purpose. I believe that what we see is a giant puzzle and there are pieces that fit together. For example, you and Dave, and I'm just going to use you, Dave, and Victor. You all are coaches in the Emmy Future Leaders program. The fact that you guys came together, similar pieces in that puzzle that have a hand in working with young boys, coming together, have an opportunity to change the trajectory of all those boys that you reach. Not only those boys, but you have an opportunity to change those boys' families and the boys' friends. Just by you guys coming together, working in this area of your purpose, which is one of many, but working in this area of your purpose, you have an opportunity to change lives immediately. Choices. If any of those boys thought about for a moment, what would Coach Calvin do? What would Coach Dave do? What would Coach Vic do? If they stopped when they had to make a decision from the lens that they identify most with you, it could change and take them in a direction that may save them when they come face to face with those choices. I think if each one of us walked in, lived our purpose, what we've been called to do, we will fix and fill in more gaps in services, more gaps in need, because everybody's purpose is for a divine design, and it's already a solution and process that has a ripple effect across generations. And so that would have to be the one thing that if everyone did their part in just living, walking, learning their purpose, that we could change the world immediately.
Amen. Brother Dave?
Yeah, I guess to piggyback on what Heather said, I think, well, I got so many things I think would change the world, but that's just me thinking, right? But I would just start with servant leadership. You know, everybody want to be a leader, but don't nobody want to serve. See, and I ain't never seen a captain without a crew, right? So I think if we teach servant leadership, because that's what Jesus was. He was a servant, and when he needed to serve, he served. When he needed to lead, he needed to lead. And we teach this coming out the gate, coming out the gate, because in that process, we found everything on love, the agape type love. And there's a clear meaning to that. And once we get that as our foundation, now we talk about respect. I respect you because I'm not always about self-seeking. I respect you because it's not about my pride. I respect you because I'm patient with you. And when I need to do things with you, I'm patient enough to allow you to grow and evolve. And yet you be doing the same with me. And we're going back to the four foundations that what love is always about. It preserves, it creates hope, it builds trust, and it always protects. So if it's doing those things in line with the ideal of servant leadership, we would see people, because that's what we're teaching, right? We're teaching our young people, future leaders, right? We're teaching them how to lead, but we also teaching them how to serve. And then now we ain't got to talk about you. This, you know, I don't know if they still say this. You dissing me and all this. They won't.
The word diss.
Yeah.
Sometime they jump in the time machine and say it.
Yeah. So you know, so yeah, they'll go there. So you know, they don't have to worry about that. You know, because at the end of the day, if I'm trying to serve you, I always like to say in relationships, if two people wake up and they say, "What can I do for you?" and you wake up and say, "What you can do for me?" That's only room for receiving. But if you got a tug of war between what you're going to do for me and what I'm going to do for you, in the sense of it's always about me or about you, that's taken. And so we got
Absolutely.
division. See, so it's about that servant leadership.
So,
Very well.
yes. So if you didn't know, every day we send out positive messages to the number 313-922-7618. And today's message that went out was about Dr. Miles Monroe. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if everyone really listened and caught what Dr. Miles Monroe was saying, but the process is what he said, it remains true. Even good can be bad to your purpose.
That's right.
Right. And understanding the type of focus that it takes to fulfill something, it's not easy. So I'm going to go into a little bit of where I come from, right? How we arrive to these things, because it hasn't been easy. And, you know, purpose is tough. It's every day. It doesn't go away. It's 24 hours in a day. It's purpose is with you when you go to the bathroom. Purpose is with you when you go to the hospital, go to the doctor, go to the dinner, go out on dates. Purpose is with you everywhere you go. Purpose is with you in your conversation. Purpose is with you. Once you get that, it's in you. It's there. It's going to be present. And it pulls. It's not something that says, just because you have purpose, you're not going to understand me because the vision is different. And most definitely, God is going to send the people who do understand me, my translators, the people who can help me get all this stuff out my head. As you can see, that was in my head. That's on that wall, right? That was in our heads and in our minds. It's more than that, right? So when you are pulling this stuff out, right, because you don't know where it's coming from, and it's an overload, purpose pushes you. Purpose is not necessarily something that requires funding, right?
That's right.
But purpose requires action. God is a verb. I heard Kim Lee say on the Clubhouse that love is my religion. And I thought that was beautiful, right? Because God is a verb. God requires action, and so does love. And the love of the people, right? And so as Heather and Dave said, right, if you don't have purpose, you can either have a hustle, a job, or a business. But when you have purpose, it is relentless. I'm telling you. I remember the very first time I got this little red book, and I still got it. When I was, okay, God, I got my hands up in the air. Okay, what you want me to do, right? Like, because every time I pick up this paper, I see these kids, right? They're dying. Right? And I'm talking and I'm going, okay, God. And what do? I say, God, use me. And brother, one day I'm sitting down and I'm going through this, but I go through these little steps and processes, and it's hit me everywhere I go. Every building I went into, every place, every time I drove the car, here come a quote. Here comes a scenario. Here comes a solution. Here comes another one and another one and another one, right? So one day I get a headache. I write out 8 quotes. Another day I got another headache. I write out another 7 quotes. Another day I'm just sitting in the car. Here come 2, 3 quotes. Boom, the news come on. Here come 5 quotes, right? And here I've got to write them down. That's still happening to me today. That's not going away.
Right.
That's part of that purpose when I say it's relentless. That's still happening to me in conversation and everything today. Right? Then, okay, you got these t-shirts, you're doing this. Okay, well, what you got to do next, right? Purpose is going to keep going. Even if I paused and crossed my arms, I ain't doing nothing. The days that I made that decision, purpose was still at my head.
Right.
It was driving me to a place that even I wasn't ready for. And once I started going, nothing else mattered. So now I'm off the clock. I lose my job, right? Because guess what? My supervisor, every time at Northwest Airlines, if they put a woman over you, black woman, or a black supervisor, you fired. It's over for you, right? Voila. I get a black supervisor, right? And they literally, right? Meantime, I got their kids, the supervisors, managers' kids. I'm meeting them on the weekend. I got their kids. I got 8 clients at the ticket counter. I got their kids, right? I'm helping girls get married, relationships over here. Everybody coming to Cal because that purpose wasn't letting up. And once they took that job,
It just opened up the door.
it opened up the door. But it was painful to me. And it was painful to my children and my family because I was losing everything. Because once you ask God, you got to be prepared to lose some things that you got erroneously.
That's right.
And I got some things erroneously that had to be stripped and taken away from me. Purpose is heavy. And you got to be tough to deal with purpose, right? And so I have a lot of respect for what you guys have said because I had many days I cried. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know what was going on. Everybody was turning on me. It was crazy to witness people turning on you. You ain't, you were just like, wow. You see? The people just turn me. But meanwhile, I'm over here. I'm like, hey, what about Good Fathers Only? Right? Isn't this cute? Right? This sweet right here, ain't it? What about encouraging me? I'm young. Well, all you got is this. Well, let me take it over here. And the sister, she took encouragement. I'm young and put it in a different way. And then, okay, we got, right? And God was just putting people path, right? Here's another lesson for you to learn. And look at us today. Mm-hmm. Respect. You got to have respect for yourself in order for God to use you. Hands down. If you do not respect yourself, if you out here on some foolishness and you do not respect yourself, carry yourself, it is going to be hard for God to use you. Mm-hmm. Because whatever he has for you, you have to respect yourself enough to recognize that it is for you. And because you are recognizing that it's for you, you have to be able to carry that. Just thinking about the doubting Thomases and the different people that said this wasn't my ministry. And you talking 2000, you talking, man, 1992 walking into an all daycare center. You talking 30 years, man. See? So you here's a vision that's been painted from purpose. Mm-hmm. So if there's one thing that I can tell you, and the reason why this respect day and peace and everything is important is you better respect yourself. You better have a certain kind of standard for yourself of things that you will and will not do and participate in so you don't put yourself in harm's way, because once God has a purpose for you, you have to perform that miracle that he gave you, because it is a miracle that he chose you to do it. Regardless to how you feel about Calvin, man, I'm got to do this work with or without you. I have no choice.
Yes.
You see, that's what purpose gives you. Purpose gives you no choice. None.
Well, you line that up with Abraham, you line it up with Noah, you line it up with people who, by all practical purpose, why are you doing this? Abraham, where you going? I don't know, but I'm following God. Why are you building an ark? I don't know, but I'm following God. And you're going to get the naysayers, the people that say you can't do it.
Man.
But they don't have your purpose because they don't have your vision. And if God wants them to be in your vision, he will place, as you talked about Beverly, I think was her name, he placed those people. So I have a saying that I have reason, I've changed, you say none, but that's not reasonable. So I have reasonable expectation of human beings that God will work through those human beings to meet the expectation he had for the plan for my life. See, because when you expect from human beings, the only one can be consistent today, yesterday, forever is God. So he'll line everybody up. But when you get caught up in other people's ideal or your vision and your purpose, they take you off your square.
Oh, man.
See, so this way, as Rick Warren said, you have a purpose-driven life. And even when you take the pause for the cause and rest if you must, you still don't quit.
You can't.
You see, you keep still moving forward.
Yes, sir. So, with that being said, tomorrow is Respect Day. Miss Miller, you got 1 minute. Tell everybody where they can reach you at, and throw a little piece in there, too. So, you got go.
Yes. You can reach out to me. I'll share my email. You can reach me at Heather, 2, Hetharu, just like on the panel here, Heather Hetharu at gmail.com. You can visit my website at yourinspiredjourney.com. And also I just want to leave you with this expansion of this purpose. Everybody has one. Everybody doesn't accept it. Mm-hmm. So it is a purifier, as you heard Calvin mention and also Dave mention. It's a purifier. Purpose is a purifier. It will eliminate and whittle down those things that no longer serve you. Mm-hmm. And as you become ready, it makes you ready for your next steps. And it's going to meet you. You will always meet your purpose as you are in motion. You don't meet your purpose sitting still. You meet your purpose on your way to your greatest being.
Thank you. Brother Dave?
Yeah, I was thinking when Heather was speaking, when the student is ready, the teacher will show. See, purpose.
The elephant is over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, I run with the purpose aspect. Yeah. Let's live a purpose-driven life. Sometimes people don't know their purpose because they don't have the knowledge at the time, and that's where the servant comes into play. He comes to teach you what you need to know to move into your purpose. Because sometimes the vision is not as clear as Heather started the conversation about the lens. Sometimes the lens just ain't that clear. But when the teacher come to help you turn it this way, a little bit of that picture get clear. So it keeps you on task. So having a purpose-driven life is what it's about.
So, perfect, Dave. Good job, Heather, both of you guys. So we close this again with a scenario. It takes 2 to last, 3 to build, 4 to inspire, and 5, right? 5 people can be a family. 2 people can be a family. My point to the numbers is 1 has never been better than 2. No matter how we add up the process, God has put us in a place where it takes 2, right, to build a family. And many times we took the term be fruitful and multiply as a way of our sexual gratification, when more importantly, it was about multiplication of legacy, family, growth, right? Grandkids, information, right? Be fruitful and multiply. And so with that being said, just take the time to really start using better words towards your family.
That's right.
It is so important that we get back to the importance of what family is all about and respecting both parents. Honor thy mother and father, for our days will be long.
Amen.
On this earth. My name is Calvin Mann. God bless you. This has been METV. Peace.